My name's GuyKesTV, and this is my quick intro ride guide for the Cycling UK experience hubs of Wroxham and Hoveton in the Norfolk Broads. In fact, the capital of the Norfolk Broads. And the first thing you need to know about Wroxham and Hoveton, because they're basically the same town either side of the river or village, is that Roy is kind of a big deal. The Roy family have owned shops here since 1895, and now they pretty much own every shop in the centre of town, which is quite a shock when you get here. But Wroxham and Hoveton themselves have been here since the 1500s, first recorded bridge, and that replaced an earlier bridge, so it's a really old town. Right at the start of the Norfolk Broads, just outside Norwich, about 10 miles out of Norwich. And where we're starting from is the old railway line. So we'll just nip under. That's the new station there. Off to that side, there's the railway line, so nice and easy to get to from Norwich. And then we're just about to cross over the road here and join the route proper. And there's a long stay car park here as well, so a good place to leave your car if you're driving from here. The route is known as Marriott's Way. Certainly the big loop, old reclaimed railway loop out around to Norwich, after Mr. Marriott, the chief engineer of the Midland and Great Northern Railway, which is the track we're following along at the moment, alongside the Buell Miniature Railway here. But it was sometimes unkindly known as the Muddle and Go Nowhere Railway, because it had so many little rural lines, but it actually stayed live for quite a long time because it was used for freight long after it's taken out of service for passenger railways. And as you can see, it's fairly narrow alongside the narrow gauge railway here, but it's a good surface even after a lot of rain recently. And I'd say it's probably ideally a gravel bike surface, but I'm currently running 28mm road tyres and they're fine so far. Just a little bit slippery in places. But yeah, for peace of mind, a wider gravel tyre is probably the optimum choice for year-round riding on this route. And all these routes in Norfolk, to be honest. Doesn't need to be anything with a massive tread, just something, you know, decent volume that you can fit into your frame comfortably, with a bit more tread than a standard road tyre. But it's a lovely sheltered route, and because it's all on this reclaimed railway, navigation is super easy all the way around to Norwich. We actually go northeast of Norwich and then loop back in. Going to Norwich, nearly 60k, and then we wrap back round, across the top of the Broads, back into Wroxham and Hoveton, and see what Roy's can serve us up for tea. Obviously the railway kind of bypasses the centre of most of the villages. You can still see a lot of the old sort of railway architecture. There's a lovely station here at Coltishall that someone's now living in. And Coltishall used to be a big RAF base, set up as a fighter station in May 1940. Flew Hurricanes out of here. Douglas Bader, the famous Battle of Britain ace, 2 artificial legs, ended up leading squadrons out of Coltishall, and then in the Cold War period they flew Javelins, Hunters, Lightnings, and eventually Jaguar attack aircraft out of here. And this whole area has a real defensive history because it's always been one of the closest parts of the continent. Whether you're talking about Vikings and Angles raiding in the medieval period or more modern history. And there's so many churches and manor houses and afternoon. Bits of historical interest around here, which I'll hopefully be picking up on when I remember them as we go through. The lovely thing about it being a railway path is it's a very, very consistent flat trail, even by Norfolk standards. This is very nice, easy going, even on the mixed surface. See some of the remains of the blast pens for the fighters over on Coltishall there. It's now an enterprise park and a solar farm and a prison, but you can still see the conning tower there and a couple of the hangars, as well as a mystery building. So they used to occasionally have American Air Force reconnaissance jets based there. And there's a mystery building that nobody was ever allowed a key for from the RAF ground crew. It's just a little shed, really. I've seen the pictures inside it. These routes, you don't have to go into a deep dive on random data, but yeah, 3 different tours from photo reconnaissance phantom jets came out of Coltishall, and presumably they had some secret stuff hidden in that shed, but it's just a shed now. In the same way as this is just a really nice bike route, not a thriving kind of passenger and freight line, because although obviously the Broads grew to fame and prominence because the waterways, it was really getting the railway into Wroxham and Hoveton made a massive difference to them being popular as a holiday destination. And that was where all the Norfolk Broads cruises started being set up from. How it became known as the capital of the Broads. And it does have a very seasidey feel, does the centre of the village. Especially when there are seagulls flitting about, and you know, you get all sorts of people. George Formby had a house there. Arthur Ransom, who was famous for his swallows and Amazons. I don't think we're safe crossing this now. Swallows and Amazons sailing books. If you're as old as I am, you might remember them growing up. But yeah, you know, a real proper holiday destination, and probably going to be again this year, unless you fancy Falkland Islands, Faroe Islands, Iceland and Portugal. And I think we're allowed to go to. I'll stick with a really nice rural railway path for now, thank you very much. Keep your COVIDs, I'll have my cows. And there are. And you can see we're out now, rolling along beside the River Bure, just over to the left, meandering along. Kind of follow that for most of the length of this path. That's why it's called the Bure Railway when it's running. I think the next stop is Aylsham, which has Roman origins. Bure in Aylsham, nearby a Roman fort and a little town, and then there's a bunch of Saxon occupation, and then grows more in prominence through the medieval period. Big area for woolens and worsted, canvas, cotton, right up until it all became mechanised and a lot of the industry moved north. It's still a very prosperous area. That's why you see all these massive early churches, even though the population now is pretty meagre. So back in the day, this was a real economic powerhouse. And Norwich was second largest, second most important city in England. All right, we're that deep into the medieval period. Oh, this is beautiful. This is well worth a picture. And here's some of the rolling stock in the station for the railway. I'm pretty sure I can see Thomas the Tank Engine up there. Yeah, definitely see the signal box. Ah, here we go. All right. There we go. One of the engines being got ready to take the tracks. The miniature railways ended at Aylsham. Got a nice whistle stop cafe there and a toy shop and the station. You're now onto the full width of the railway, and so a bit more space. And this lovely cutting. Smells gorgeous with all the blossom out. Even the nettles smell nice. On your right hand side, please. Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you. Alright, build up steam again. Now coming up to Corston, which is the scene of the last ever duel in Norfolk, where aristocrats would fight each other. It's not listed quite why, it's generally over some kind of insult or perceived insult, but anyway, Sir Henry Hobart of Bickling Hall, which is a massive stately home. It's now run by the National Trust. Beautiful gardens, tea rooms. That's halfway between here and CROMER, where I've done another selection of routes. He's squared up against Oliver Leneve of Whittington Hall. And Householder Sir Henry had a reputation of something of a sportsman and a swordsman, but he lost it that day, along with his life. But because there were no witnesses or seconds, which is what sort of the etiquette demanded, it was illegal. So old Oliver, had to leg it to Holland for a couple of years and lie low before coming back. But it's just such, you know, you might wait, relaxing, whee, elevation. It really makes up for in all these little villages and the stories attached to them. You know, make sure you log on to the guidebook. I'll get the guidebook and I'll be writing that up in a bit more detail. So I'll put a link to that in the end of the video. There's all sorts going on. I like people bringing me up. There's all sorts going on around here, and you know, see really wildlife everywhere. Not just rabbits, deer, foxes, badgers, jays, all sorts of things twittering and squawking that I don't recognise. It really is a beautiful corridor, beautiful natural corridor, and a really lovely traffic-free way of passing through it. And of course, it's just, you know, this just happens to be a route we put together through the centre of a very rich riding area. So while we've concentrated on traffic-free options, all sorts of little sub-loops or extensions or permutations you can build onto these base loops. Don't get lost, get unlost, enjoy yourself. It's not like you're going to get stuck the wrong side of an Alp or in a valley you can't see out of. Navigation around here is relatively simple. There's a lot of sky to work with. and it's all really low density as long as you stay away from the major main roads, and most of it's very, very quiet farm tracks and farm roads. But of course the beauty being on a railway path like this is you kind of get engineering priority. In most conditions you're either going over or under the road, so you don't have to slow down or watch for traffic then either. Woo-woo! Norwich, here we come. Hoveton station, another old doomsday village. Station here. And the railway track. Only place in Norfolk with 3 churches, all pretty much in exactly the same place but all in different parishes, although one of them's burnt down now. And again, a lot of sort of Flemish architecture around here, a lot of Flemish weavers came over when the wars were going on in Europe. So, and there's always been a lot of crossover. Even the kind of archaeological record shows that a lot of trade, pretty much any period. And also, this is where, just back there, is where the National Cycle Network #1 crosses. So you can link that in to like the cycling superhighway. Right up through the centre of Norfolk. But we're going to carry on with the Marriott's Loop. Next stop, I think, is Lenwade. And they used to make a lot of concrete. That was the reason the line stayed open as long as it did. There's the big Anglia cement works. And the goods trains to and from there. To say, if you want to keep dry, you're going to need mud guards. If it's been raining a lot, there are some soggy sections. I mean, the going's still good. I'm still galloping along, but I'm filthy. So, get your guards on. Should have put my crud guards on my bike. Thought it'd be drier, to be honest, but never mind. Like I say, the going's still good. Feet are just a bit wet. My bike's going to need a wash before I put it to bed. It's part of Sustrans National Cycle Network route #1. So the big north-south route. But as that carries on, not far up here we're about to do a big hairpin turn. Start the trip back into Norwich. So we're almost as far east as we're going to get this evening. And here, another MMGN station. And after it had gone, people realised how useful it had been having a railway here, and it changed from muddle and go nowhere to missed and greatly needed. And this is a full-scale, full-gauge railway. So if you like your railways, unsurprisingly, this old railway track will be a real treat for you. But it's a treat for anyone who wants super easy navigation, lovely flat, rolling, no hills to blow your legs up, very consistent speed. You know, even the muddy sections don't slow you down much. And it's been absolutely deserted this evening. What is it? 6:30 now? On a May evening. To be fair, the weather during this week's probably kept people inside, but there's nobody to fall out with. As my wife's mum used to say. And go out and have some mindfulness and just lose yourself in these beautiful sort of thick corridor of trees and bird song and foliage. This is a lovely route to come out. Just everywhere you look to the sides, starting to get more into the Broads territory now. So little lakes and ponds and loads of wilderness habitats and nature reserves along here. Some really rare species dotted about, and so many places that this route passes through that you can stop, and there's almost certainly a beautiful medieval church and a pub, depending where your priorities lie. Maybe you're into both. Maybe a pew and a pint is what you're into. If that's what your game is, then perfect place. So yeah, around towards Lenwade now, the concrete works. And this whole area is, if you like your Gothic script on maps, this whole area is loaded with moats, old halls. There's a fair few prehistoric and Bronze Age barrow sites around here as well as a load of Saxon stuff that we know from the kind of place names. Although most of the history is kind of Doomsday Book and afterwards. This was a real hotbed tribal activity, you know, right from the Boudiccan Rebellion in the Roman period, and a really, really important part of the world for millennia. And it's kind of been forgotten more recently, but that's its charm. You know, that's how you get beautiful isolation like this. It's a real unspoilt feel. A lovely place to ride a bike. It really is. And everywhere you go, there's just really nice little vignettes like this, like the old level crossing gate and little Attlebury station sign there, and a little bit of trackway, tiny little signal box on the old station. It really is a charming route, this. Good Lord. Sort of a hill. Not expecting that. I mean, it's just over the ring road into Norwich, but to stand up, most unexpected. Back to business as normal now though. Alright, just a little detour off the cycle path there. You pop up, then you got to drop down the hill to the petrol station and then back on it in here. Again. That's more like it. Back to what we used to, I think. Ah, there we go, yeah. Oh, and this is in a bit of a detour there in Drayton. Came off the cycle path. Actually had a puncture to fix, so. Oh, luckily some lovely bloke lent me a track pump, sort of speeded things up a bit. Oh, and this is the A-frame bridge. Very nice. In. And off we go. 5 miles to Norwich. So that tyre behaves. Should definitely have gone for the tubeless gravel wheels I've got in the van in retrospect, but fingers crossed. The surface is kind for the rest of the way into the town. City, sorry, of Norwich. Definitely a city is Norwich. This is one of the A-frame bridges going over the meadows into Norwich. Here we are. We're rolling along the riverside into Norwich, where there's a whole ton of history here. Amazing city. Definitely worth spending some time in. And of course, a great place to resupply and stock up. Thank you. And a very nice way to come into it as well, I have to say. And now we're rolling out through Norwich on a really nice common on a cycle path, but looks to be some off-road options. And they actually got some rise and fall to it as well. I'm actually climbing. And now we're in the final furlong. Just come out past Heath. Fairly straight and easy run out of Norwich. Not too trafficky, nice and wide. And now this is a proper bit of back lane zigzagging back into Wroxham and Hoveton, obviously, where I think I might be making use of the extensive selection of fish and chip shops quite promptly. Just made a little detour out to Heath Church, which is, I mean, it's got a 12th century sundial, but they reckon there's bits of it that are older than that, and it's just out here in the middle of nowhere. I mean, there's a house over there, but mostly it is just middle of nowhere. Beautiful, tranquil little spot, this. Ah, it's been a beautiful ride, it really has. Super tranquil and calm. And now here we come, back into Wroxham. Job done. The little bunnies just everywhere you look. There's some beautiful bits of architecture. There's these shutter-boarded houses. There's been loads of thatched houses as well. It really is a beautiful part of the country. Yeah, those road tyres didn't hold out, so I've done since Drayton on a flat front tyre because there's something I can't get out of it. It keeps puncturing inner tubes, so I reckon I've earned those fish and chips, to be honest. Here we are, into the marina, and there's the tour boats, and there's the bridge where we started. Fish and chips, please. So there we go, a quick video guide to the new routes put together with Cycling UK for the new experience hub out of Wroxham and Hoveton village, capital of the Norfolk Broads. And I hope you'll appreciate, you know, just what a wonderful landscape this is to cycle through. So timeless, so easygoing, so beautiful in its own sort of unique way, and so much wildlife and history here. It really has been a fascinating little tour. But anyway, I'm off to CROMER now, a slightly different kind of landscape, slightly different feel up on the seaside just to the north of here. So obviously there'll be a series of videos from there, and both of these experience hubs will also have their own websites and have their own booklets as well, which I'll be writing. So make sure you look for those as well to get some more background information, stuff I might have missed while I'm trundling through. But for now, thanks very much to Cycling UK for the opportunity. Please, you know, support them. They are a charity. They do tremendous work for cycling advocacy, as well as giving great deals on insurance and making sure us cyclists have a better deal, and putting together routes, you know, like this and like the King Alfred's Way I did last year, and the West Kernow Way, which is I'll be doing shortly in Cornwall. And there's going to be more cycling experience hubs opening up all across the country as well, and hopefully I'll be involved in some of them. So massive thanks to Cycling UK, thanks to Giro, who are my channel sponsors for my YouTube channel, and thanks to my patrons who subscribe to my channel on a monthly basis just with small pledges to help keep it going and develop the channel. So have a look on there, there's all sorts on there, more route guides and bike testing stuff as well. And if you're interested in the bike I'm riding, it's a Viello V+1 first gen, and there'll be a whole lot of coverage on that on the channel as well. But for now, I've been GuyKesTVen on GuyKesTV on behalf of Cycling UK at the experience hub of Wroxham and Hoveton.